What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the RS Sports Podcast. Super Bowl pre-show. It is the big day. We got the Chiefs and the Buccaneers today playing in the Super Bowl. We got our panel with us today to help us break down the game and break down some of the offseason stuff before the big game today at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So let's introduce the panel right now. JonMark Stivers, host of the Crunch Time Sports Show. JonMark, how you doing today?
And how about you?
I'm doing good. And then we got host of the Fuel to the Fire Sports Podcast. You can find that twice a week on YouTube. Landon Hammons. Landon, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Ryan. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited. Like I said on Fuel to the Fire, I'm hyped up for this. I'm excited, so I'm ready to break down the game.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this game too. It should be a shootout. But again, I do want to advertise, Fuel to the Fire. All three of us are on Landon's show. We go on twice a week, and it's a really, really fun show to watch. I also do want to urge you guys to check out Crunch Time Sports Show with JonMark Stivers. JonMark, you run that twice a week, right?
Yeah, I made 2 episodes so far.
Okay, yeah, twice a week. I also do want to let you guys know before we jump into the Super Bowl that the RS Sports Podcast will be moving strictly to YouTube starting this Wednesday. We're going to be doing our NBA shows every Wednesday, and you can find that exclusively on YouTube. It's a lot easier for me to do slides, and there's not really a time limit. So the show will move to YouTube. That's where you can find it starting Wednesday. But now that we got all that intro out of the way, it's time to discuss the big game. Here's how this is going to work. We're going to go and we're going to talk some topics for the Super Bowl to start. We're gonna move on to the off season, and to finish it out, we're gonna give our scores. Then all along the way, with the viewers, if they want to comment in the live chat, we'll respond to some comments along the way. But we'll jump right into it. Our first topic on the pre-show today is who's in and who's out. So the Bucs have 2 questionable players: tight end Cameron Brate and wide receiver Antonio Brown for today's game. And the Chiefs have tackle Eric Fisher. He's out for the game. Linebacker Willie Gray is out. Sammy Watkins is questionable. And I do believe they have another tackle that is out for the Chiefs. And that's where I want to start. And I'm going to send it to JonMark first. JonMark, obviously we know that the 2 tackles are out for the Kansas City Chiefs in this game. How will that affect the Chiefs? How big is that? Not only for the Buccaneers, but for the Chiefs as well.
Yeah, with the Chiefs having to struggle offensive line, Vita Vea, Jason Pierre-Paul, and Ndamukong Suh can just run right through that weak offensive line and not the normally strong offensive line that they have in the regular season. Injuries got to some of them, and COVID got to some of them, but the Chiefs have a weaker offensive line than usual, and I think that will hurt them.
I 100% agree. I think that Patrick Mahomes is definitely going to have to use his legs. Landon, what do you think? How does the 2 offensive tackles being out for the Kansas City Chiefs, how does that affect not only the Chiefs but the Buccaneers as well?
Oh, well, it's very bad for the Chiefs. I mean, like JonMark said, this offensive line is not top tier in the regular season when they're all healthy. And, just adding pieces that are hurt is not going to help out this situation at all for Kansas City. But for the Buccaneers, this is where they're going to have to be bright on that defensive side of the ball, because we've seen against the Raiders, Tom Brady was pressured, Patrick Mahomes was pressured. They lost that game. So if he can get pressured, that can be a 100% game changer in this. And I said this, I will know by the end of the first quarter who will win this football game, because I will see if Patrick Mahomes can make use of the weapons he has on the offensive line as well as in the field. So it's a big loss for the Chiefs.
I 100% agree. These 2 tackles, they're not some of the guys that make huge plays throughout a game, but they're one of those guys that are like, although not making big plays, they are very, very important. And I think it's going to show in today's game, because obviously this defensive line for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is really, really good. The only place that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers really struggle on defense is that secondary. So that defensive line, I feel like, is just going to carve up that offensive line, and they're going to force Patrick Mahomes to use his legs and scramble. And Patrick Mahomes is a mobile quarterback, and he can also use his arms scrambling out of the pocket. But Patrick Mahomes is going to get tired early, and I think late in the game is when you're really going to figure out who wants to win this one more. Because if Patrick Mahomes' energy is taken away in that second half, the Buccaneers, that might be prime time for them to start putting some points on the board, especially if they're trailing after the first half. I want to move to the Bucks. Now, with wide receiver Antonio Brown being questionable, we know that they have Scotty Miller as a wide receiver. We know that they have Antonio Brown as a wide receiver. And Mike Evans is a wide receiver, I'm sorry. But Landon, I'll start with you on this one. How big of an impact is it that wide receiver Antonio Brown is questionable for this game?
It's huge because, like we said on Fuel to the Fire, again, I'm referencing this. We said that Mike Evans will more than likely be doubled a lot of this game. And, this is terrible to say, but Chris Godwin has not performed well this season. He did not perform like he did last season. So, that's when guys like Scotty Miller and Antonio Brown come into play. You're going to have these role players, if you will, to perform in a game where you have injuries, simply because they might be the only available source open. You cannot trust, a quarterback, Tom Brady or Jameis Winston, to throw it into double coverage and be accurate 80% of the time, just say. So he's going to have, and if Antonio Brown plays, it would be a big win for the Buccaneers offense. And if he does not play, we're just going to have to see how it plays out with how the defense guards Mike Evans.
JonMark, I'll turn it to you. We have Chris Godwin as a wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We have Mike Evans as his wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We have Scotty Miller as a wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Antonio Brown's questionable for this game. How big of an impact is it that Antonio Brown is questionable for this game?
I think it's somewhat okay, but somewhat not okay. I mean, they have weapons in Mike. They have a weapon in Mike Evans, and a somewhat weapon in Chris Godwin and Scotty Miller. So they have weapons and okay weapons. If Tom Brady can target them and they can catch passes, I can see them easily winning this game.
I agree, and just in response to what Landon said, Chris Godwin didn't have a great year. But we saw Scotty Miller play well in the NFC Championship. Mike Evans is obviously a beast. He's going to be their number one target. So I don't think that Antonio Brown being questionable is that, hurts the Buccaneers that much. Only because you have 4 solid wide receivers on that team. And really, on a normal team, you really only need 3 solid wide receivers to have a good team. You look at a team like the Chiefs. Sammy Watkins is questionable for this game. But they still have Tyreek Hill, not to mention Travis Kelce, who's a tight end, but he's still an option for Patrick Mahomes. But still, I feel like the Buccaneers have more weapons than the Chiefs in this game. Now, I don't know how that's going to, hold up. We'll have to see. But I think that Tom Brady has a lot more options to throw to in this game than Patrick Mahomes. And I think that Antonio Brown being questionable, if he doesn't play, I don't think it's such a big deal for the Buccaneers. I think they're still going to have a shot whether Antonio Brown plays or not. And finally, I want to send this to JonMark to start. Just going back to the Chiefs, Sammy Watkins being questionable. Obviously, he's the number 2 option on that Chiefs squad. Landon on Fuel to the Fire last week said that the Chiefs were going to have to rely on the run game. So do you think that they will have to rely on the run game now that Sammy Watkins is released as questionable for this game?
Yeah, I was lagging, so I didn't know if you were talking to me or not, so sorry about that. But
No, yeah, I just asked you if you think with Sammy Watkins being questionable, are the Chiefs going to have to turn to the run game?
Potentially. I mean, they got 2 solid running backs in Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell. If they can step up and get like 80 yards apiece, that could really help the Chiefs' offense.
I agree. Landon, what do you think? Do you think that Sammy Watkins being questionable is still going to force the Chiefs to sort of turn to the run game?
No, not as much as the line problem, simply because Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce can get it done. I mean, Tyreek Hill's arguably the best receiver in the league, and Travis Kelce is without a doubt the best tight end in the league. So I think these two guys can get it done. But I'm gonna say this: if Sammy Watkins is healthy, it just adds an extra weapon for that Buccaneers defense to keep up with. So this is bigger than, or this is not bigger than Antonio Brown. I believe Antonio Brown is a bigger question So I think he's a bigger factor because I don't think Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, or Gronk, all three of those guys, even compared to Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. So I don't think they're going to have to rely on the run game if Sammy Watkins is out because they still have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Now, and I can't discredit this Bucs defense at all. They're fantastic. But let's be real, guys. It's Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. And I believe Tyreek Hill put up the stupid numbers whenever they played the Buccaneers, right? When he had, like, north of 300 yards, I believe, and 3 touchdowns I think he had. That was against the Buccaneers. So, that just goes on to prove my point that this is not a huge factor for the Chiefs.
I would have to disagree with you there, Landon, because you said that you think that Antonio Brown being out is bigger than Sammy Watkins being questionable, or Antonio Brown's questionable as well. But I the only reason I disagree with you there is because Antonio Brown being out, you still have 3 options. You still have 3 very good options, in my opinion, for Tom Brady to throw the ball to. With Sammy Watkins out, you just went from 3 options to 2 options. 3 main options to 2 main options with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. Now, I have no doubt, like you said, that Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce can get the job done. But I think it's bigger now that Sammy Watkins is questionable than Antonio Brown being questionable, strictly because the Chiefs don't have as many weapons as the Buccaneers do going into this game.
Well, now, listen, I obviously, if you look at the numbers, the Buccaneers have more weapons, but the Chiefs' weapons are better. Sure, maybe they don't have the numbers. Like, they have Tyreek Hill. Let's say Sammy Watkins is out, okay? The 3 main guys would be Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, as well as Mecole Hardman. Mecole Hardman is a speedster. I mean, give that guy the ball and he is gone, right? And, same with Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce is just Travis Kelce. There's no words to describe him. So, sure, they don't have the names, say, or on paper, I'd say the Buccaneers have better weapons. However, I don't really know how to explain it other than they're just better. Their weapons are just better. I want Tyreek Hill over Mike Evans. I want Travis Kelce over Gronk. I want, sometimes I would take Sammy Watkins or Mecole Hardman over Chris Godwin sometimes this year. So that's just that was my reasoning there. Is just because I think they're better.
And that's a really good point because I think they are better too. I just think the lack of numbers makes it less detrimental to the Buccaneers than it does to the Kansas City Chiefs. JonMark, before we move on to our next topic, I want to go to you and ask you the question that Landon and I just sort of disagreed on there. Do you think it's more detrimental that Antonio Brown is questionable, or do you think it's more detrimental that Sammy Watkins is questionable?
I'd say Sammy Watkins. I'd say he's more valuable to the Chiefs than Antonio Brown is to the Bucs. Sammy Watkins is the second option in that team. Sometimes Antonio Brown is that 4th option. So.
Right.
That's a good point.
And again, you could obviously the Buccaneers have more weapons, like I said, but the Chiefs, the Chiefs had better weapons, like Landon said. So I think it could go either way. We'll have to see, and only time will tell. Moving on to our next topic about the Super Bowl is we have the GOAT versus the kid, GOAT versus baby GOAT. I've heard many different people call it many different things. Mahomes and Brady, they play tonight, 6:30 Eastern, in Super Bowl 55. So my question, I'm going to start with Landon. Landon, who's under more pressure to win this game? Is it Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady?
It's got to be Patrick Mahomes, and simply because Tom Brady, in my opinion, has nothing to lose here. He's walked into the Bucs organization that was terrible last year and made them into a Super Bowl team. I give him credit for being a playoff team, for winning a playoff game. And the fact that he's in the Super Bowl, he has nothing to lose. Bucs fans are happy. They are happy. Obviously, they'd rather win tonight, but they are happy with where they are now. And you can basically give the credit to Tom Brady there. And Patrick Mahomes is the defending champ. People are writing Patrick Mahomes. So he has all the pressure here. Tom Brady has nothing to lose. He can just go and leave it all out on the field because he knows, even if he doesn't win the night, he succeeded in Tampa Bay.
JonMark, what do you think? Who's under more pressure to win, Mahomes or Brady?
Tom Brady's already the GOAT, so I think it won't hurt his chances of staying the GOAT if he loses. So that's why I think Patrick Mahomes is under more pressure, because he is going to his second Super Bowl already before he's 25, and he's going up against a terrible Bucs organization that Tom Brady turned around in a season. But Patrick Mahomes, for those reasons, I think Patrick Mahomes is under more pressure.
And I 100% agree with both of you. I was looking at this question, because I think it's a really fair, like, it could go either way, right? I think when you're talking about a team, I think we're looking at the Bucs being under more pressure to win this Super Bowl than the Kansas City Chiefs. If we're looking at the team aspect, because the Bucs obviously haven't won one in about 19 years, and they also, may not have as many weapons for Tom Brady next year. We don't know what's going to happen with Tom Brady next year. He could win a Super Bowl and he could ride off into the sunset, and this could be the last time we see Tom Brady on a football field. As far as Brady versus Mahomes, who's under more pressure, it's definitely Patrick Mahomes. Because like JonMark said, Patrick Mahomes is going for his second Super Bowl before he's 25. Tom Brady already has 6 Super Bowls. He's got nothing left to prove. We know he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. If he loses this game, he's still going to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. If he wins, he's going to be. It'll further cement his legacy that he is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Patrick Mahomes, on the other hand, is under a lot of pressure because I don't think we've ever seen anybody win 2 Super Bowls under the age of 25. If Patrick Mahomes wins this game, his legacy goes almost through the roof. People are already going to talk about him being a Hall of Famer if he wins this game. And me personally, I think that Patrick Mahomes is going to be one of the greatest we've ever seen by the time his career's over. But that's a great segue into our next topic. Now that we got our second topic out of the way, does a win cement Tom Brady as the GOAT? JonMark, I'll start with you.
Like you just said, he's already the GOAT, and I think winning a Super Bowl even help his legacy even more, and make it harder for other players to take a spot as the GOAT in football.
Landon?
He's already the GOAT, like JonMark said. But if he can win his 7th Super Bowl, like I said yesterday, I believe, he, in my opinion, is the best team sports player of all time if he can win this 7th Super Bowl. I know Ryan disagrees, and we can argue if you want. I don't know if that's what this show's about, but if you want to go, we can. And it's simply because of the nature of NFL football. You got to have a lot of toughness mentally and physically. Against, I know his answer, which is Bill Russell. You can't take his talent. You gotta look at the talent there. It's obviously there's a lot on both sides. However, competition wise, I think I'm gonna have to go Tom Brady. Plus, football is just so much more. It's a different animal. It's just so physical, and you got to be tough. And so I'm not taking that away from basketball either, because it's still a very hard sport to play. But Tom Brady, if he can win this and turn the Bucs organization around, he's on a level that is just so high up, nobody will ever reach him. Unless Patrick Mahomes does the same thing he does, which I could see happening.
And that's where I agree with you there. That Patrick Mahomes can reach the level of Tom Brady, but we'll talk about that in our next topic. But I obviously Tom Brady's already the GOAT. We know about how you and I disagree about best player in team sports. I think that's a jump ball between tons of guys. But Tom Brady's already the GOAT. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen in football history. Like I just said, if he loses this game, he's still going to be the greatest, one of the greatest of all time. If he wins, that's going to put him even on a higher pedestal, like Landon said. So we just need to see what happens. Tom Brady just needs to go out there and realize that he's got absolutely nothing to lose. If he wins this organization a championship, that's great. First championship in 19 years. But as far as Tom Brady's reputation goes, he's got absolutely nothing to lose headed into this game. Patrick Mahomes, on the other hand, Patrick Mahomes has got some pressure going into this game. He needs to win this one to cement his legacy. And that's where we're going to go to next. I'm going to start with Landon on this one. Landon, does a Super Bowl win for Patrick Mahomes make him one of the greatest we've ever seen?
if we go talent wise, I think Patrick Mahomes is the greatest we've ever seen. 2 Super Bowls in 3 years is very good, and I believe that's probably one of the first times it's ever happened. As well as if he wins tonight, he will, win go back to back, and the first time since Tom Brady did it in 2003 and 2004. Which brings my answer to your question. Yes, if he wins tonight, he is not the greatest, but he's definitely put his name up there with the greats, because he's done something Tom Brady's done. Tom Brady, we all agree, is the greatest of all time. So I believe if he wins this, it's getting him on the right path to become the greatest player of all time.
JonMark?
Yeah, like Landon just said, if he can win, it'll put him up there with the greats of football, and I could potentially see him. Some people putting him at top five or top 10 on their GOAT list after the Super Bowl if he wins.
And I 100% agree with both of you. And I think it's also worth mentioning, Patrick Mahomes is not 25 yet. And I know we've said it all show long. If he wins another Super Bowl, let alone back-to-back for the first time since 2003 and 2004, we're already talking about Patrick Mahomes being a first-ballot Hall of Famer. To answer the question, I would say not yet. I think if he wins this Super Bowl, he's very, very close to it, and I think he could even catch up to Tom Brady. And I think that he could surpass Tom Brady in Super Bowls. I think this Chiefs team is going to be a dynasty for years to come in the NFL, but I think Patrick Mahomes needs this one to further cement his legacy as one of the greatest we've ever seen. I like what Landon said, because if we're talking talent-wise, I have never seen a player in the NFL quite like Patrick Mahomes. That, he can throw with his left hand, he can roll out of the pocket and throw it 50, 60 yards downfield. I mean, the guy is just doing things that we've never even thought were possible in the NFL. And I think that talent-wise, he's already one of the greatest we've ever seen. If he wants the statistics and the championships to prove it, tonight is a big night for Patrick Mahomes and his reputation and his legacy.
Real quick, Ryan, that's another thing that goes back to what we said about the pressure standpoint. He knows he's got a target on his back right now. If he wins tonight, he's getting his name up there. But if he loses, does he stay in the same spot he is or drop? That's a question for another time, and I don't want to really get into that because I haven't done enough thinking about that. But that's another thing. I didn't even think about that when talking about pressure. It puts a big target on his back.
It really does. Tonight you can talk about any player you want on that field and talk about, them playing in the Super Bowl. The person going into this game tonight with the most pressure on their back, the most pressure on their shoulders, is without a doubt Patrick Mahomes. This game is probably one of the most important games that Patrick Mahomes will ever play in his career. And he's only been in the league for three years now.
I was about to say that's insane. Think about that, guys.
Right.
The man's playing the most, arguably one of the. It will probably be one of the best in ratings, because it's Baby Goat versus the Goat. This is the biggest game of his life, and it will probably be one of the best Super Bowls we'll ever see.
And I agree. I've said before, this is going to be a shootout, because these two teams can score some points. But again, Patrick Mahomes has been in the league for 3 years, and this is, you can talk about him winning his first Super Bowl last year. This is the most important game that Patrick Mahomes has played yet, because if he wins, he is on a pedestal. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion, if he wins this game. If he doesn't, then we're looking at him dropping, like you said, Landon, on some legacy scoreboards. I can't even tell you how important this is for Patrick Mahomes. I want to bring up a comment real quick from the chat. Chunker315 agrees with us. This will be an interesting Super Bowl, and it definitely will be. It's going to be a high-scoring Super Bowl, in my opinion, and it's going to be really, really fun to watch and see the outcome. Moving on to our next topic. This is an interesting one, because now we're going to look at the whole trajectory of sports. And I'm going to start with JonMark for this one. JonMark, simple question. Are the Chiefs the best team in sports right now?
100%. I mean, no team in the NBA NHL and the Chiefs right now, or playing as high as the level as they are. The Chiefs' offense is amazing with the receivers and an O-line when they're full healthy. Their secondary is amazing. Their D-line is average. The Chiefs are 100% the best team in football right now. Not just football, the sports world in general.
Landon?
I agree, but I'm going to go a step further here. This is one of the best teams we will ever see. This team goes up there with the 17, 18, 16, 17 Warriors with KD, Steph, Klay Thompson. This goes up there with the 97, 98 Chicago Bulls. This goes up there with, the Showtime Lakers. I could go on and on. This is one of the best sports team we will ever see.
I 100% agree with you. When you look at the guys that are on this team, and they're some of the best players in the NFL that we have right now. This is the equivalent of a super team in the NFL. The only team in recent memory that I can think of that could even compare to being one of the best teams in sports, call me biased if you want, but last year's Los Angeles Dodgers, after they picked up Mookie Betts, and the lineup of guys that you see on that team, that is the only team that I can compare to the Chiefs in recent memory. But like Landon, like you said, the Kobe and Shaq Lakers, the 80s Boston Celtics, right?
I was thinking, when I said Showtime, I was thinking the Magic Johnson days.
Johnson, yeah. Even then, the New York Yankees of baseball, in the 30s. This is a dynasty that we're looking at right now with the Chiefs, especially if they win this Super Bowl. I have never seen another team as well put together as this year's Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, look at a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's a rookie, and people are already talking about him being one of the best running backs in the league out of his rookie year. I mean, credit that to Andy Reid, because Andy Reid's a great coach, but this Chiefs team is just amazing, and I agree. They are the best team in sports right now. The only team that could really come close was last year's Los Angeles Dodgers. And that, there's nothing more to say about that. The Chiefs are the best team in sports, and we all agree on that. Our last topic before we head into some off-season topics, we're going to move away from the quarterback position now, and we're going to move to the tight end matchup tonight. Rob Gronkowski, Travis Kelce. And I want to emphasize that we're looking at both of these tight ends in their prime. I'm going to start with Landon on this one. Landon, who is the better tight end in their prime? Gronk or Travis Kelce?
I'm going to say this, okay? Right now, both of these guys are the same age, I believe. I think they're both 31, 32, somewhere in that arena. And the fact that Travis Kelce, in my opinion, is just entering his prime while Gronk is probably in the last years of his career shows that Travis Kelce is the better tight end. Rob Gronkowski in his prime, and I know it's not his fault, but was dealing with injuries over and over and over. So I think Travis Kelce is the better tight end in the prime. In his prime, I think he will etch his name on probably a top 3 tight end list of all time, especially after this season, after his amazing numbers this season. That just puts him up there.
JonMark?
I'm going to have to disagree. I'm going to say Gronk is better all time when fully healthy. He was a monster when he was in New England, catching passes from Tom Brady and just running through guys who are way much smaller than him. And Gronk... Go on.
No, go ahead. Finish.
Yeah, so I was going to end it off with, that's why Gronk is better, in my opinion, all time.
Real quick, Ryan?
Go ahead.
Okay, so the reason I said Travis Kelce is because he's in his prime right now, and he put up the best year for a tight end ever. Period.
I would say this, though, because I agree with JonMark. I think, looking at prime, Gronk is the better quarterback, and here's why. Like you said, Travis Kelce and Gronk played at the exact same time. Gronk's won more Super Bowls, and while Travis Kelce was playing, when he was with the Patriots, before George Kittle or anybody came along, Gronk was considered to be one of the greatest tight ends of all time. Now you got Travis Kelce being compared to like a George Kittle now, and you're right, Travis Kelce's just entering his prime, but I would say, looking at their primes right now, I would say that Gronk is the better tight end in his prime, only because he played at the same time as Travis Kelce, basically. And people were talking about him being the greatest tight end of all time. Landon, go ahead.
I think I can argue to what you said about how Gronk won the Super Bowls and everything. You got to think Travis Kelce's had a good quarterback for 3 years. You can say Alex Smith, but in reality, Alex Smith doesn't compare to Tom Brady. Patrick Mahomes is the only quarterback that's played with Travis Kelce that can even come close to Tom Brady. So and Travis Kelce was still putting up stupid numbers with a quarterback they found in the subway in New York somewhere. So, that's just no-name guys playing with Travis Kelce, and now he finally has a quarterback who he can trust to throw him the ball on an accurate, rope. That's how Patrick Mahomes throws the ball. So that's why he's the greatest tight end, if you're talking about them two.
And you know what? That's a fair point. That Travis Kelce didn't have Patrick Mahomes 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago when he was in the league. I would say that by the end of Travis Kelce's career, since he's just entering his prime now, I would say that he could probably be better than Gronk if we're looking at their primes. I'm saying right now, looking at each person's prime, Gronk is the better tight end, in my opinion.
I think Travis Kelce will be the best tight end of all time, to be honest. I think
that's a hot take.
He'll be better than a Tony Gonzalez, who I think, or a Shannon Sharp. Who else? That's probably my top two right now. But I think Travis Kelce can pass those guys.
That's a hot take right there. I like that because you don't know if he's entering his prime right now. Travis Kelce could very well cement his legacy as one of the greatest tight ends we've ever seen. And this Super Bowl has a long way to go for him too. For him winning this Super Bowl, he's got to perform well, especially if Sammy Watkins doesn't play in this game. Are we all good to move on to the offseason?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's do it. So our first topic in the offseason, obviously we saw this last weekend. Stafford for Goff, the big trade that we saw. I'm going to start with JonMark on this one. First of all, the Lions received Jared Goff and a bunch of picks. And the Lions received Matt Stafford. JonMark, who won this trade?
The Lions, no question. They got a young quarterback in Jared Goff, and not one but 2 future first-round picks for Matt Stafford. I'd say that's a pretty good deal for the Lions to get off Matt Stafford, who they mutually agreed he wanted out and they wanted him out. But the Lions 100% won the trade.
Landon?
I'm going to say the Lions too, and it's simply because of the picks. The quarterback swap was even because I don't think either of these quarterbacks are elite in this league. And, you can blame that on Stafford's line and weapons and coach problems and the Detroit Lions just being a dumpster fire in general. You can blame this on a lot of things. But I don't see Goff having any better of a career than Matt Stafford did in Detroit. So the Lions won this because of those picks. They can go out, and I don't see the Rams next year might be good. I'm not going to lie. They actually will be. They will be good. But after Matt Stafford's gone, those picks will be good simply because they're not going to have a quarterback. They're not going to have enough money to sign a guy half decent because they're going to also have to sign Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. They're going to have to sign Cooper Kupp, who's probably going to want a max deal. A guy like Robert Woods, Cam Akers after his rookie deal is gone. So, point being, the Lions won this trade for the long run, and that's what I like. I like to build for the long run.
I agree with both of you. I think the Lions won this trade not only because of the picks, but also because I think that Matt Stafford is overrated. And, call that a hot take if you want to. I think Jared Goff's a better quarterback right now. But, again, I think Matt Stafford's overrated. I think the Rams gave up way too much to get Matt Stafford. I don't think the Rams are going to be good next year. I think the Lions won this trade. Because like you said, Landon, if they can't re-sign all these guys, they're going to have to turn to the draft anyways. And they just gave away all their picks. The Lions are set now for the future. And again, I think Stafford's not as good as Goff right now. I think Goff is going to have a better career than Stafford when it's all said and done. But we'll move on to that topic next because that's a really good segue. And JonMark, I want to start with you on this one. Who is going to have the better year this year, the Rams or the Lions?
It's tough to say because, like I said on Fuel to the Fire in our first episode, it's going to be their first year playing in a new system for both of them. Matt Stafford's going to be entering Sean McVay's system, and Jared Goff's going to be entering the new Lions coach system. I don't know what his name is yet, but they're both going to be entering new systems, which they have to get used to. But it's too early to tell right now, in my opinion.
Landon?
I'm going to have to give it to the Rams simply because I like what JonMark said about this is Jared Goff's first time out of the Sean McVay system. But Stafford, he's probably, let's see, he's probably been in the league, what, guys, 8-9 years? We can agree somewhere around there. And he's probably had to deal with 4 or 5 different coaches. And those 4 or 5 different coaches have probably brought 4 or 5 different schemes in. So he's had to switch up his game so much. I think he will be just fine in LA for the next 2 years. And I see the Rams being a legit Super Bowl contender. Unfortunately, they probably will beat my Seahawks in the West next year. And, this team will be good. And, Ryan, you said he's overrated. I disagree. I think he was given a terrible, terrible supporting cast. Now he's going to go to the Rams where he's got a fantastic cast with receivers, linemen, defense. So this Lions team is going to be good. This Rams team is going to be good.
Would you agree that he's not Super Bowl caliber, though? Because I've heard a lot of people say that.
I would agree, but people also look over Matt Stafford when they think of a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
I don't think I'm one of those people. I don't think Matt Stafford's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. I think Jared Goff is a better quarterback than Matt Stafford because, look at it this way. What has Matt Stafford done? You can talk about him not having a good team in Detroit, and that's a very, very good point. But if you want to bring up him not having a good team in Detroit, we're going to see what Matt Stafford's made of in L.A.
Okay, that's good, and I guess I'm making a bold prediction when I say he will be good in L.A. That's just, there's a lot of questions with this trade, like we said on Fuel to the Fire. There's a lot of questions here. A lot of question marks all over the place. Will Goff be good in this new system? Will he make work with will he make do with what is given to him? There's a lot of questions, and to be honest, I see Stafford having a possible most improved, I know that's not really an award in the NFL, but a most improved player. If that was a thing in the NFL, he would win it next year because they will make the playoffs behind Matt Stafford, and I'm calling it now. I guess call it a hot take if you want. They will make the playoffs behind Matt Stafford.
And you know what? I wanted to mention this. When looking at the seasons next year, Landon, I would go the complete opposite direction as you. I would say that the Lions are going to make the playoffs, and this is probably going to be a hot take. I don't think that the Rams are going to make the playoffs because we're about to find out what Matt Stafford's really made of. JonMark, what are your thoughts on this?
Can you repeat the question, please?
So Landon and I were going back and forth about who's going to have the better season, and we said that what quarterback is going to do better, basically, I guess would be my question. Do you think that the Rams are going to make the playoffs under Matt Stafford, and do you think that Matt Stafford's overrated as well?
I think Matt Stafford's rated properly right now, in my opinion. He's not a top 10 quarterback, in my opinion, but I'm still seeing, like Landon said, the Rams probably will be in the playoffs. It's going to be a toss-up between them and Seattle for the NFC West. But the Rams are going to have a better season than the Lions.
And I just want to point out to you, though, JonMark, you got a team like the Arizona Cardinals in that NFC West that could sneak up and win the NFC West. I think the Seahawks are going to win it, but I really think the Rams are going to get that third spot in the NFC West, and the Cardinals are going to take over and get a playoff spot. Landon?
Yeah, so real quick, I just want to say this. Jared Goff was not able to get the job done with a great supporting cast around him. And just what's he going to do when he goes to the Lions, who are a dumpster fire, like I said? He's going to have no weapons, no linemen, no defense. It's like he's completely starting over.
Are you talking about the Super Bowl? When you say that he didn't have a good supporting cast, is that?
Yeah, he did. Bottom line, he did not get it done in the big game, right? And
he was playing Tom Brady, though.
I don't care. It doesn't matter. The fact that he did not get it done. He had Todd Gurley, who he was a MVP contender, I believe. Did they have Jalen Ramsey that year? I pretty sure that was his first year with LA. Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, but they had Deshaun Jackson, I believe. Robert Woods. I could sit here and go on and on and on, and he didn't get it done. So that's why I don't understand how you think he can go to the Lions, who's an even worse organization than LA, and make the playoffs. Goff is not that piece.
I think Goff's the better quarterback. Max Kellerman on First Take said that called Matt Stafford an average quarterback. And if you're going to call Matt Stafford an average quarterback, you got to call Jared Goff at least an average quarterback, maybe even a good quarterback. I mean, you got to call a spade a spade. Right now, I think Jared Goff is a better quarterback. And you know what? He didn't get the job done in that Super Bowl. But look at who he was playing. And he was playing a Patriots squad led by Tom Brady, who basically owned the 2000s now. Well, I mean, again, I think this goes back to only time will tell. I am excited to see Stafford in LA. I will say that because we're going to see what Matt Stafford's made of. Matt Stafford should do well in LA because he's got the pieces to do well. But we'll see what kind of quarterback, what caliber quarterback Matt Stafford really is going into this season.
Real quick, Ryan.
Go ahead.
Jared Goff should be a good quarterback with who he was given. The fact of the matter is he wasn't. He was, you can say an average. I'd say he's lower tier. And he was given fantastic weapons. So that's all I got on that. I'm ready to move on if you guys are.
Yeah, the only thing I would throw in there at the end of that is, as a Vikings fan, I would take Jared Goff over Kirk Cousins because I think Kirk Cousins is a low-tier quarterback. And
I would take Jared Goff is better over Kirk Cousins.
And I think Jared Goff is better than Kirk Cousins. I think Jared Goff's better than Stafford too. But we'll have to see what happens there. Moving on, we have two more topics left before our Super Bowl picks. The next topic. Trouble in Houston. Now, I want to start this because I'm going to go to JonMark first, but I want to start by reporting something to you guys. If you haven't heard, this morning Adam Schefter reported that the Houston Texans are not taking any calls on trades, and if they get calls on trades, they're just denying the calls completely because they are not interested in trading Deshaun Watson. They want to keep Deshaun Watson as their guy. Obviously. But JonMark, I want to go to you. What do you make of this situation that the Texans said that they will not trade Deshaun Watson no matter what deal they get? And if he does get traded, where do you think he will go?
If realistically, I think the Jets are the best shot to get him in a deal revolving around a second pick. But the Texans are just being stupid at this point, not wanting to trade him. I mean, if your star player wants out because the organization is terrible, I'd go to Matt if I was the GM of that team.
Landon?
What was the question? I'm sorry, I had to go do something.
I said, do you think that what do you make of the situation that the Texans said that they will not trade Deshaun Watson no matter what trade offers they get? Do you think he'll still get traded, and if so, where?
He will get traded, and Ryan and I were talking about this earlier. They might not trade him until the regular season because they will see he will put no effort into the game. He will be a cancer in the locker room, and finally he will get what he wants and he will get out of Houston. And to be honest, I think he will go to the Miami Dolphins. I think he'll go to the Miami Dolphins for Tua, a first-round pick from the next year, and maybe something else along with it. But I feel like Tua and a first rounder for Deshaun Watson is a pretty good trade for the Texas organization, simply because I've seen Tua, and he has, and this might be a little biased, but he has so much heart and passion for the game, and he will put in the work anywhere he goes. So I think that would be a fantastic trade for Houston as well as Miami because you're getting a bright future if you can get Devontae Smith with that third pick. And you can find a way to get Deshaun Watson, that would just be a fantastic fit for both those teams.
And you know what? I just, in response to the question first, because I do want to respond to Landon. Obviously, Deshaun Watson is, I wouldn't go as far to say he's going to be a cancer in the locker room. I think he's going to sit out, is what he's going to do. He's going to tell his coach that he's not going to play until he gets traded. And then
pull a Le'Veon Bell? Is he going to pull a Le'Veon Bell? Remember when he did that?
I think he
I'm
would.
sitting out until I'm getting paid. No,
not until he gets paid, until he gets traded. We see that a lot in the NBA.
Same situation.
There's a right and a wrong way to go about it. You can be get yourself traded without being a cancer in the locker room. I would say that Deshaun Watson's just going to sit out until the team decides to trade him. And when they do trade him, because I think they will trade him, I think he's going to go to the New York Jets, like JonMark said. They just got that new coach in Robert Saleh. They can utilize the draft maybe a little bit to start building a young team. The key word for Deshaun Watson, if he goes to the New York Jets, and I said this on Landon's show, is you got to be patient. If Deshaun Watson wants to win right now, New York is not the best place to go. If he wants to win right now, if he wants to win a couple years down the road, that might be the best place for Deshaun Watson to go. If he wants to win right now, I agree with Landon. He should go to Miami. That's his best bet to win right now. But if he wants to be patient and sort of be able to build a team of some young guys and build a team that's going to last a little bit, I think he should go to New York. I think that's the best fit for him right now. Before we move on, do you guys got anything?
No, all I got right now is he says he wants to win now, but he wants to go to the Jets. It doesn't make sense to me, but
that's what I'm saying. Patient. If he's going to go to the Jets, you better be patient because it's not going to happen like that. Mm-hmm. Moving on, we're going to move on to our final topic before our Super Bowl picks. So stick with us. Our Super Bowl picks are right around the corner. Our final topic is the end of Pennsylvania, as reported yesterday. Carson Wentz will be traded. The Philadelphia Eagles organization is actively looking to trade Carson Wentz. The trade could be done as early as this week, per Adam Schefter. So, my question to you guys is, where is Wentz going to go, and will he find a starting job anywhere? And Landon, I'll start with you.
Listen, there's so many teams in the NFL that need a quarterback right now. I could see him get a starting spot. Do I know where? No, but I can just off the top of my head, Washington needs a quarterback. Alex Smith is probably almost done. Now, Taylor Heineke, I think is his name, played fantastic in that playoff game. Maybe he's the future in Washington. Maybe they try to bring Wentz in. I don't know. But like I said, there's a lot of teams. My pick for him, I think he will go to Indianapolis. And I think he will be the starting quarterback there, and I think it will take the Colts organization from a top-tier playoff team as they were last year. Well, not top-tier, but, a playoff team, and they will drop down a lot because Carson Wentz will be under center for the Indianapolis Colts. I don't think he deserves a starting job. I think he's a terrible quarterback, and he doesn't deserve a starting job anywhere. I would start Jacoby Brissett over Carson Wentz any day of the week.
JonMark?
He will not have a starting job, in my opinion. In fact, I bet it would just be released right before the season without a job. But in my opinion, I think he'll go to the Giants. Daniel Jones, in my opinion, is not a good quarterback. But I'd say Daniel Jones would stay, and Carson Wentz backs him up.
And that's where I'd have to disagree with you there, JonMark. I think Daniel Jones is a good quarterback. I think the Giants are going to stick with Daniel Jones for a year or two. I agree with Landon. I think Carson Wentz is going to go to the Indianapolis Colts. I think he's going to have a starting job there. And I think the Indianapolis Colts are going to go from here to here really, really fast. Mm-hmm. I think they are going to be on the decline because, like Landon said, Carson Wentz is absolutely terrible. You can talk all you want about Carson Wentz helping get the Eagles to that Super Bowl in 2017. I have said this for so long to Eagles fans that I know. If Carson Wentz doesn't get injured, the Eagles do not make the Super Bowl that year.
I agree.
They do not make the Super Bowl that year. Nick Foles is the reason that the Eagles won that Super Bowl that year. If Carson Wentz plays, I don't even know if they make it to the NFC Championship. After that year, it was amazing. So many people were hyping up Carson Wentz, saying he's one of the best.
He was MVP contender before he tore his ACL. He was having a really good year.
I mean, yes, he was having a really good year, but how much credit is that to the fact that the Eagles had a really good team in 2017? Because now we know the type of quarterback that Carson Wentz really is.
Well, I mean, I agree. I think Nick Foles won that Super Bowl, but you can't take any credit away from the season he had. I don't think he would have done work in the playoffs at all, but you can't deny he had a really good season. And after that injury, you hate to see stuff like that. After that injury, he fell off.
And I 100% agree. But, I definitely think he's going to Indianapolis. and Indianapolis is just going to go down from there. And I think after a year or two, Carson Wentz will be done in the NFL. Nobody will want to pick him up. I mean, what team is going to be that desperate enough to pick Carson Wentz up?
Well, it'll be a situation where a team, there'll be an injury to a star quarterback, and Carson Wentz will be put into the situation, that we don't want to see anybody get put in, where he's just going to get thrown on the field, kind of like, he'll get picked up on a 1-year deal because somebody got injured, and he'll play quarterback. That's what I think will happen. I think he'll be terrible at the Colts. They'll drop him, or they just won't re-sign him. Because, we also got to think, he has so much money. Stupid amount of money. I didn't even think about that whenever I said my answer to the Colts. I wouldn't trade for him.
That's all Howie Roseman. That's all Howie Roseman in Philadelphia. Let's look at this, right? Howie Roseman didn't put Jalen Hurts in, and he definitely should have, because if Howie Roseman makes a call, puts Jalen Hurts in earlier, and even Doug Peterson, if he does that, they're a playoff team, in my opinion.
Yep.
The Eagles. But again, I agree. I think Carson Wentz is going to get dropped after his first couple years in Indianapolis, and then I think he's just going to become a second-string quarterback because if someone gets injured, like Landon said, I think his future. I don't think he has a future in the NFL after the next couple years. I think he'll get picked up by Indy because Indy will want to take a shot on him and see what he can do. But after that, he's not going to go anywhere, in my opinion. And do you guys have anything before we move on to
Super Bowl picks?
That everybody was waiting for it. Our Super Bowl picks for this year, Super Bowl 55. We're going to circle back to this. And I am going to start with JonMark. JonMark, I want you to give us your Super Bowl winner, your score margin, and your Super Bowl MVP.
Okay. The Chiefs are going to win it, in my opinion. 35-31. And my Super Bowl MVP will be Travis Kelce. If he can get targeted a bunch by Pat Mahomes this game and gets like 1, maybe 2 touchdowns, that'll be an automatic Super Bowl MVP for him in my eyes.
Landon?
All right, here we go. First, I want to start. Ryan, it might be a minute. Hold on, just stay with me.
Do you want me to go?
No.
Okay.
Just stick with me here.
Okay.
I'm going to give credit to the Buccaneers because this team I did not see even making the playoffs. I'm going to be straight up. I didn't see this team making the playoffs. But the Kansas City Chiefs, like we said, is probably the best team I've ever seen in any sport. Kansas City wins this game, 38-31. It's going to be that. You know what? No, I'm going to change this. 37-31. Chiefs win in overtime. That's my prediction right there. Chiefs win in overtime. My Super Bowl MVP, Travis Kelce. I predict he has, let's see here. I predict he has 215 yards as well as 2 touchdowns. And I think he'll be targeted 11 times with 10 catches. And I think he goes on to win MVP. The only reason I don't go Patrick Mahomes is because I believe that Buccaneers defense is really good. He will be pressured, and he will throw a couple interceptions. But yeah, I got the Chiefs winning this one. What I say, 37-31 in OT.
All right. So, my Super Bowl picks. There were a lot of people that were asking me who I thought was going to win the Super Bowl this week, and I said, I'm doing this podcast on Sunday. I want to keep it.
That's what I had to be like. Just wait.
I want to keep it to myself. I want time to think about it. I didn't even know who I wanted to pick until probably Thursday or Friday of this week, because that's how tight this game's going to be. I want to, like Landon said, I want to give credit to the Buccaneers. I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs this year. You never count out Tom Brady in the playoffs. I didn't think they were going to go to the Super Bowl. I thought that the Packers were going to go to the Super Bowl. But credit where credit's due. They got a great defense, except for that secondary in the regular season, but that secondary's picked it up in the playoffs. Tom Brady is back in his 10th Super Bowl, going for his 7th Super Bowl. But without further ado, my pick. The Chiefs are going to win this game, 34-31. And my Super Bowl MVP is going to be Patrick Mahomes. I think Patrick Mahomes cements his legacy tonight. We talked earlier about the pressure being on Patrick Mahomes and this being the biggest game of Patrick Mahomes' career so far. And I think Patrick Mahomes rises to the pressure tonight, and I think we see him walking away with his 2nd Super Bowl. I think the Chiefs get their back-to-back Super Bowl for the first time since 2003, 2004. But Landon, I really liked what you said because I would love to see some overtime in Tampa Bay tonight. That would be a very, very fun outcome to the game. I think it's also worth mentioning and crediting to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that they are the first team to ever play a Super Bowl in their home stadium. But Landon, I would love to see some overtime tonight.
Yeah, I believe there will be overtime.
And that's a very good prediction because there very well could be. But again, I think it's going to be 34-31 Chiefs. I think your Super Bowl MVP is going to be Patrick Mahomes, and I think Patrick Mahomes proves that he is one of the greatest we've ever seen tonight. But only time will tell. That's where we end our show. Super Bowl starts in just over an hour and a half, about an hour and 35 minutes from now. If you're on the East Coast, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. I cannot wait for this game. Guys, do you have any final thoughts before we go and watch this game? Because I know all three of us will be tuning in.
I'm so excited. Like I said, I'm so excited for this game. I'm just about as excited as I was whenever my Seahawks played the Patriots. We're not going to talk about the ending. Why didn't they throw? I don't know. Or why did they throw it? I don't know. But I'm so excited for this. I'm ready. I wish it would just be 6:45 already because I think that's what they said kickoff was.
Yeah. JonMark, anything?
So ready for it. It's going to be one tight game. And I'm ready to see the Chiefs win.
And I agree with both of you. Like, this is, I've seen Super Bowls before, obviously. I think this is probably one of the Super Bowls I've been most excited for, probably until my Vikings make a Super Bowl. Which, God, Lord,
You'll be waiting a long time.
Please send it soon. Anyways, like Landon said, this is probably one of the Super Bowls that I've been most excited for, until my team makes the Super Bowl. And we're not going to talk about that because they haven't made a Super Bowl in a long time. But that's our show for today. I want to urge you guys to go and watch that game. 6:45 is kickoff, as Landon said. You guys want to see some good football, you got to tune into the Super Bowl tonight. I cannot wait to see the outcome. I will talk about it at the beginning of my show this Wednesday. I do want to urge you guys, this Wednesday on YouTube. Again, I do want to tell you guys that my shows will be moving strictly to YouTube. I want to urge you guys to watch Landon Hammons' show, Fuel to the Fire. JonMark and I are frequent guests on that show. And I also want to urge you guys to go and subscribe to their YouTube channels, and to watch JonMark's show, Crunch Time Sports Show on YouTube as well. But for now, this has been the RS Sports Podcast, and we'll see what happens tonight. Super Bowl 55.